You all know that the Nash Equilibrium is a point in a game or a state in a game whereby no player gains anything by changing their strategy, assuming that every other player's strategy remains constant. So there is no incentive for any player changing their strategy. The Nash Equilibrium is a situation whereby each player's strategy is the best response to the strategies of every other player in the game. So, as a matter of fact, instead of gaining in a Nash equilibrium, there is even possibility of starting to lose when you change your strategy. The term was developed by John Nash, and you can learn more about John Nash, about other concepts associated with the game theory by watching this video, which I did some time ago, titled Game Theory. You'll find some of the things associated with the game theory there. Today we are going to be talking about the application of game theory in our everyday life. So we'll be looking at trying to answer questions such as, why do people stay in jobs that they hate? Why do people stay in relationships that are just okay? Or why is it that we sometimes complain about systems, about governments, about nations, and we don't do anything positively to change the outcome of these situations that we complain about? So it's not because of laziness, it's not because of stupidity, it's not because of foolishness. It's actually because you're actually in a prison, an invincible prison, and that prison is called the Nash Equilibrium, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So yes, the Nash Equilibrium actually has background in mathematics, but today we'll not be looking at the mathematical aspect of the Nash Equilibrium. We'll be looking at how it affects human behavior. A Nash equilibrium is achieved when everyone makes individual decision that has collective outcome. Now the collective outcome may be positive, like we're going to see. Sometimes these collective outcomes are completely disastrous, or let's just say unbearable, to say the least. Well, before we look at the examples of this Nash equilibrium, let's quickly try to explain why humans usually, why we find ourselves in one sort of equilibrium or the other, and we define this from a psychological point of view. Now the thing is that in the heart, or let me say the foundation of Nash equilibrium is laid upon man's or human's innate desire for stability. It's simple. Now imagine a situation whereby everyone makes the best choices. Everyone makes the best choices for themselves based on the choices that every other person is making. You see, a point is reached whereby a stability occurs, whereby no one wants to make any change anymore. Now, the reason why people don't make changes at that point is not because they have a perfect condition, like a good condition that is perfect for them. That's not the reason. The reason why they would not make changes at that particular point is because change in that condition at that point is very risky, especially when other people do not change with you. So we're going to look at examples of how this plays. Imagine a situation whereby everyone is making the best decision for themselves based on the decisions or the choices or the strategies of everyone else. So a point of stability is reached, and when that point is reached, nobody wants to make changes anymore. Not because that point of stability is a perfect point, not because that point of stability is good for them, it's not what they want, but because making changes at that point of stability is very dangerous. It is risky. So when human relation gets to such equilibrium, the humans no longer seek or desire perfection, they desire stability, and that is why this Nash equilibrium usually occurs in human relations. Now, it's very important to know that not all Nash equilibrium or equilibria are bad. They are good or positive equilibria, and then there are also negative equilibria. So let's just give some examples of positive equilibria. Imagine driving. Normally, if you drive, you know that you're supposed to keep a particular lane. I don't think you have any reason not to keep that lane. So what pushes humans, apart from the fact that there's law, there's this natural instinct from humans to keep that particular lane. That's actually an equilibrium. And if you also look at it also in human behavior, in human relation, when humans meet, there's this tendency to greet, to shake, to hug, whatever it is that you do. That desire to want to repeat these things over and over and over again, so you don't look like a freak, so you don't look like someone who is from Pluto. That is also Nash equilibrium. There are so many positive Nash equilibrium, and they form part of the reasons why human beings can coexist. So they are good Nash equilibrium, but then there are also negative equilibrium, and we're going to talk about just a few examples. One thing that you must realize is that the laws that bring about positive equilibrium are the same laws that bring about negative equilibrium. So we are applying the same laws and getting different results. So you just need to be very careful to know which equilibrium that you are dealing with. So one of the negative equilibrium that we're going to talk about today in human relation is what I call the vulnerability paradox. In this situation, two or more people in a relationship, it could be an academic or educational relationship, it could be a political relationship, financial relationship, spousal relationship, whatever kind or form of relationship, it can be any relationship. One or both parties in that relationship may desire better connection, may desire something more from that relationship, something to gain from that relationship, something good anyway. However, they may not be able to require this from their counterparts because it will make them feel or show their vulnerability, so they hold back. Now, what is the result of holding back? You get a stable relationship, a mild relationship, an emotionally inert relationship. Another situation where you can see negative Nash equilibrium in play is in business. Now consider two companies that probably are selling the same products. Now this is what I term the advertising arms race, selling similar products, and they are both spending millions of currencies in advertising those products. Now, if one company decides to stop advertising, that company would definitely save up a lot of money that they would have rather be spending funding their adverts. However, if the other company does not stop advertising, that company that did not stop advertising will soon run the company that stopped advertising out of business. You see? So with this idea, no company is going to stop advertising. They are going to continue spending billions eventually in advertising, and the advertising is going to go on forever. So this is another place where we see negative Nash equilibrium in play. There are so many other areas where negative Nash equilibrium plays or is seen in a daily relation. However, so that the video will not be too long, let us go straight to talk about how we can break out from negative Nash equilibrium. But first, we need to answer the question, why do we stay stuck in negative equilibrium? Now, it's not because we don't know what to do. It's because we don't trust others to change as well, and we don't want to be the first to start it. You understand? So we'll not be left in the middle. That's just the reason. So let's quickly talk about how we can break free from the cycle, of negative Nash equilibrium. It is very possible to break out of that cycle, and there are three things that we must put into consideration, or three things that we must know and do if we want to break out from that cycle. The first and the foremost is communication. I know you would have already guessed this on your own, because communication is key. The second is to switch the type of game you are playing. You have to switch from playing a finite game to playing an infinite game. Now, if you want to know more about this type of games, finite game, infinite game, you go back to that video that I did on game theory. You get clarification there. And the third and final thing that we can do to break us from negative Nash equilibrium is to make the first step. Now listen. When you communicate, you have to communicate clearly. Communicate your intentions boldly, clearly, so that your counterpart will understand exactly what you want. That's the first step that we talked about. Now the second step we talked about is switching from a finite game to an infinite game. The reason why this works is that finite games don't continue forever. The motive or the purpose of finite game is to win, to get something done. But the purpose of an infinite game is to continue playing that game. You see, people who play finite game in relationships are usually selfish. But if you switch it to an infinite game and show in this infinite game, because it has so many turns, that you are committed, that you are trustworthy, you see, the scale of equilibrium will begin to tilt towards the positive direction, because the more you show that you are committed, the more you show that you are trustworthy, the more you show that you have good intentions, your counterparts or your partners or your fellow players begin to reciprocate those gestures back to you. In an infinite game, this can't happen in a finite game. Now, thirdly, we talked about going first. You must understand that someone has to be honest first. Someone has to make the first move, break the ice. Understand? Someone has to be the first to change, and in order to break from a negative Nash equilibrium, You might just have to be that person who makes the first step. So make the first step today. Break out from negative Nash Equilibrium in your relationships and can develop into positive equilibrium. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.